Welcome to another episode of our Stocks to Watch series here on Learn, Grow, Invest. So, how this works, and I'll explain this for those who may be new. So, we meet usually. I'm joined by 2 to 3 guests. We discuss, how we look at the market, share our stocks that we have on our watch list and why. Now, it's usually one of our best or most engaging episodes because you also get an opportunity to share what's on your watch list as well in the chat. So feel free to tell us as we're going through. And from time to time, if we do see that we have an opportunity to look at some of the companies that you mentioned in the chat, then we'll just kind of add them to the conversation as well. So it's really just meant for we started these episodes 2 to 3 years ago to help our community just learn how to, create their own process of preparing a stock watch list, right? So it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be engaging. So today I have 2, maybe 3 guests joining me. I have Audley Reed, CEO of R.A. Williams, who just successfully closed their IPO today. So he'll be joining me first. Then we have David Rose, who will be joining us a little bit later. And then I won't mention the third guest, just in case he's not able to make it. But we may have a surprise guest joining us around 8 o'clock thereabouts. So let's first welcome Audley to join us on stream.
Hi, Jay. Yes, good evening, and good evening to your community here on Learn, Grow, Invest. I'm happy to be here. It was a good day, and I'm just here to share and participate in this discussion.
Yeah, so let's get the IPO stuff out of the way because I figure persons may have some questions there. So you were able to close successfully today. Congratulations. What has that process been like for you?
It was very eye-opening, the entire process from start to finish. The company would have come under a lot of scrutiny. We would have had to open ourselves up for everyone to get a sense of who we are and what is it that we do and the journey that we've come along since inception until now. So it was an exciting one as well, just onboarding or engaging potential investors. And now we're going to be moving into the onboarding process. So we're just happy for where we are. We're happy that we're able to meet the mark and get the funds in to expand the business and just to continue to drive the growth.
At this point, are you able to say how much you are able to raise, or do we have to wait for that?
Yeah, when I saw the report yesterday, I know we were past the mark for sure. That's as much as I can say. For today, I haven't gotten the update as yet, but I know we had planned to close today, so we just closed out, and I guess the reports will come in early tomorrow morning.
Okay, cool. So congrats again, because I'm sure that I've spoken to many CEOs, and everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion that it's small amount of money XYZ, but you still never know. So you kind of ride out the process, kind of waiting, and so I'm happy that you're at this stage, and it should be fun from here. So I'll allow our community to, if you have any IPO, any R.A. Williams IPO related questions, now is the time to drop them in, because once we start talking about stocks to watch, we're not going to be taking any of those questions. So I'll allow 10 seconds for any questions relating to the IPO that you may want to ask. If not, then we'll start. All right, cool. So let me introduce the stocks to watch concept again. So I'll go first, since you're our special guest, Audley. So we start by usually saying how we look at the market, how we compose our portfolio, and what things that we may be looking at in the economy right now that are factors that would inform what's on our watch list when we get to that point, right? So for me, usually I start with just looking at what's happening in the economy. So right now, we know that interest rates are high. We know that, for example, looking at the real estate market, saw the saw the report today that, for example, GMT is coming out of real estate. I've
Mm-hmm.
looked at some other real estate companies and how they've been performing. I've seen quite a few companies take losses or have reduced revenues and profits. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself that I'm looking at companies that are going in the opposite direction, right? So revenues are increasing, profits are increasing. They're able to have quite a bit of cash, especially now. Cash is extremely important because we're expecting interest rates to go down, but we don't really know when, right? We are expecting things to go back to normal, but we don't know when. And so for me, if a company has enough runway, now this runway can be created by raising capital or maybe issuing shares. Like it doesn't matter, but they have a runway and can be able to continue to grow because I'm thinking that if you're able to grow in this climate, when things get back to normal, then it's just like to the moon, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So I'm watching for companies that are able to generate cash, and then, of course, I'm a dividend investor, so I'm looking at the companies that are seeking to even increase their dividend payouts right now. And so those are the things that I look at. So, Audley, over to you. How do you look at the market, what goes into you picking your own stocks, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, you're absolutely right on everything that you mentioned, Jermaine. I mean, picking a stock for me, first of all, starts with understanding the fundamentals of the business. What is it that they do? What kind of space they operate in? Um, the second thing is there a demand for the product that they're offering? Those are some of the things that I look at. The next thing that I tend to look at is who is behind the business. What's the management looking like? Do they have the expertise, the experience in the industry that they're operating in? And I also look at the structure of the business. Do they have the human resource capacity to spur growth? And you also look at the efficiency of the operations, like what's the financial or the turnover of the business like over the maybe the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and those kinds of things. So I think certainly for us, the industry that we're operating in is one that is very vast, the healthcare industry, with different areas of specialization. And for us, we are focused on pharmaceutical distribution, pharmaceutical sales, and marketing. That is our area of specialization. And I think when you look at our industry on a whole, we tend to have an opportunity because have opportunities for expansion because there is an ever increasing demand for healthcare and healthcare offerings. So we're happy that we're able to enter the space in terms of becoming a publicly traded company, and we're happy that we had a product that generated a lot of interest for potential investors, and that persons invested in the company. It speaks to confidence in us as a team of persons behind the business, and we're just looking forward to continued growth.
All right. So just one quick sec. Some persons are saying they're hearing an echo. So I'm not sure if you're also watching the stream. If not,
Mhm.
just okay. So it might just be my side. So I'll mute whenever you're talking, and hopefully that takes care of it.
Okay.
Um, so let me ask you this question before we go any further. Um, how do you what's your portfolio composition like right now, right? So I'm assuming you have some stocks, I'm assuming you have some real estate, but give us the kind of asset allocation for what.
Well, I mean, I'm new to the investment space. I've been largely focused on growing our business, R.A. Williams. But over the last 3 years or so, with the excitement and hype around the investment community and space, and with some of my friends participating or bringing companies public, I had to participate. So My portfolio for right now is mainly five stocks. I mean NCB, Sagicor.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Don't give them away so early. Kind of space them out, man. Space them out. Space them out.
Yeah,
Space them
so but the three that I pay most attention to, one on one, one great studio, and Spur Tree.
out. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, we'll talk about those one at a time. Right.
Mm,
So Orville is gonna be happy that you named them all at once. I should have probably told him that we named them one at a time.
yes.
So let's start with the first one that you mentioned there, one on one. Tell us what you see there.
I'm particularly excited about One on One because it's a company that is in the educational space, and I'm big on that. Our company is big on that as well. We're highly focused on how can we contribute to education and building our community. And because of that work that One on One does, increasing accessibility to platforms that can assist in persons getting access to educational tools and educational material to empower themselves and uplift themselves for upward social mobility. It is something that I'm excited about. The way in which they're doing it, leveraging technology, I think is key, especially in this environment. So I expect the company to continue to grow and just to continue to perform positively over the foreseeable future. That's one of
Okay.
them. So I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
one at a
Okay.
time. So
No. So I'll share my thoughts on one. So I think the space they're in is very interesting as well. We just did the earnings call with them, and so to hear the progress of One Academy, it's
mhm,
great to hear. They're finally going to be able to roll out to, I think, the number of schools that they had targeted a few months ago. Um, what I would love to see, it feels to me like there could have been faster growth,
mhm,
but if when I listen to what Ricardo says, especially when we spoke just on Friday, um, he wants to take the approach of kind of testing the strategy and then doubling down and then kind of building out from there, which makes sense, right? You don't necessarily want to take a lot of risk, especially when the strategy is kind of narrowed down somewhat from when the first IPO. So I get that. But I do feel like there are opportunities in the education space. I do feel like if they're able to, you know, get into, for example, the target that they mentioned is 100 schools, I think, by the end of the quarter. If they're
mhm,
able to, let's say, double that or triple that in a year or two, then I think they'll be doing really well because I did, I think, 95 million for the last quarter in revenues.
mhm,
Um, and so that's 4 quarters, that's a $400 million revenue business, right? And if they are able to make 20 to 25 million per quarter, that's $100 million business.
mhm.
In a couple of years, that's a good business, right? So um, I would want to see as well, I guess, greater. Well, I don't really know much about. So for example, there's mention about work being done on R&D. That's what Ricardo mentions a lot as well. I wish the public got more insight into that R&D, right?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to talk a lot about that in the public space because a lot of it um, will certainly be proprietary information that has to be protected and patented and all of that. So I do understand from his perspective, from Ricardo's perspective, the limitations of being able to speak about it. But I guess they're gonna have to try to look at creative ways how they can. Disseminate the information without giving away too much But that is something that has to be looked at. But certainly, I think I'm excited about some of the work that they're doing. I love the R&D work that they're doing, because I think that is going to be the key for the future potential of the company. Some of the amazing things that I think can be done to leverage technology. When I hear Ricardo talk, I'm just amazed at the potential. So I'm looking forward to great things from one-on-one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I hear, I mean, of course, when we discuss and have earnings calls, we get somewhat of an insight into what's to come. So I do agree with you that some of the things that we've heard about is pretty exciting. And I mean, it comes out in the earnings calls as well. So let's see. I mean, it's one to watch. So we'll see what the next 3 to 6 months look like.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. Okay, so Shelley is saying that that's one question that was never asked. What patents do they have? That will be key for the future. So I don't know if they have any patents actually. I should ask. I kind of feel like they would have, at least on their platform, but I don't think I've ever asked that direct question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that those are some of the things that we just have to look at.
Yeah. All right. So let me start with mine. Um, Let me see.
Come on, enough.
No, no. It is. It is. Well, I'm trying not to be repetitive. Because we have this every quarter, so there are some stocks that our community knows that I'll see all the time. So I'm trying to mix it up a little bit. So one I am watching is, I would say, um, hmm, I am looking for especially you saying not Trans Jamaica, because that's one of them oddly that I'll mention every single episode. So I won't say Trans Jamaica, I promise. I was gonna say Tropical Battery would be
Mhm.
my first one to watch here, only because um so we knew they did the acquisition earlier this year. We know that they're just how things looked for them. It seemed like revenues are gonna go through the roof. I know that their finance costs is an issue now because of the capital that they had to take on, the debt that they had to take on to finance the acquisition. Um, and this news most recently about now going to the main market is going to be interesting for me to see. I think that the next quarter's numbers are going to be very, very instructive in terms of what we're likely to see, because it would have been so much time after the acquisition with Rose Batteries. So we'll get to see really what a couple of quarters look like. And I feel like they're moving to the main market this quickly, you know, because it would have been 3 years, I think 4 years since they've been listed. I just really feel like there's something else coming now. I don't know anything. I have to say that I'm not aware of anything that's not already publicly available. But I've seen the company have a very aggressive acquisition strategy. I've seen them be willing to take risks and double down where needed. And I feel like Alexander is just really looking to um, position the company a certain way, like the way that he speaks about it, the way that he's focused on growth. Um, so I'm expecting with that revenue increase, with that profit increase, we're likely to see increased dividends as well. They already pay dividends, but I think over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months, we may very well see that dividend that they pay double or triple, right? Which will be a big deal for those who are already receiving a dividend. Um, so Tropical would be my first one to watch. I don't know if you know about them at all and have any thoughts.
Well, I have been hearing about tropical battery, from I was a kid, and I've certainly paid more attention to them since they were listed. So yeah, the news you're talking about is certainly positive news, and I share your views. It will be exciting to see what comes out of this new acquisition and how it catapults the company going forward. So it's interesting times ahead. So we're watching as well.
Yeah, I
It's
think
it's a
that's
story for other companies as well. Um, the impact that a merger or acquisition can have, and I believe that when a company becomes listed, the platform that it gives you and the access to further capital that it opens up is important for growth. And obviously, Tropical Battery is leveraging all of the perks that come with being a listed company. And I'm happy to see that growth because certainly, um, should an opportunity come our way, these are things that we would love to be able to pounce on in a strategic way. So I'm happy to see what is happening with Tropical Battery. They're really playing in their space in a big way. They're honing their craft, and that's good to see. And certainly, it's something that Ari Williams would want to emulate in our industry as well.
so. I'm actually happy that you raised that because I was gonna ask you. I believe your prospectus alluded to it, inorganic growth. Um, what's your overall take on that? So I know you said something just now, but is that something that you're aggressively looking at? Is that something that, because I know the space, based on the role that you play, you could you could actually do acquisitions, I see, on multiple levels, right? There are some of the clients that you could actually kind of absorb into to what you already do. Since you're in distribution, there are other companies that maybe do a similar thing that you could bring in as well. Maybe some competitor that may not be doing as well as you, but maybe they have something that you could leverage. So that's kind of what I think about. I don't know what are your thoughts on that.
Well, I think your thoughts are in the right place, Jermaine. There are no opportunities that I can speak of now, but our eyes are open and we're certainly on the lookout. But and that is why the IPO at this time was important for us because we wanted to strengthen the company, just to shed some of the weight by reducing the debt portfolio, so that it makes our steps lighter and we are much more nimble. Being able to be, what is the term, agile in this environment is very, very important to us because it is our agility that has allowed us to grow this quickly in the better part of 12, 10, 12 years. I mean, if you certainly compare us to a lot of our other competitors, I've said this before, most of them are over 30 years old and just not pulling out, they didn't pull out revenues that we are pulling this quickly. So that's important, an important metric to look at, the pace at which we've been able to grow and the dexterity in which we're managing the business, because we have to ensure that the business is ready for these kinds of opportunities and they may come. So let's see, who knows?
So just for completeness, I'll ask you, what would you try, maybe top two or three things that you look for in an acquisition. So for example, you're looking for either well, no, let me let you answer it. What are maybe top two or three things that you look for that would make a company attractive to acquire for you?
The first thing is the space. Like, are they the company? Is the company aligned with what our mission is, which is to continue to um, broaden access to quality and affordable healthcare solutions to as many persons as we can. That is the mission of this business, and we would want to align ourselves with an acquisition that enable us to continue on that path. Will this acquisition add to the continued scaling, upward scaling? That's very important to us. We want to continue to grow the business and grow it rapidly. So yes, you are right. The prospectus did speak to inorganic growth, and that is something that we're looking at very seriously as we continue to take up space in the pharma industry, because we want to really establish ourselves as the leading player in pharmaceutical solutions. So we would be looking at businesses that will allow us to increase our position and market share in the industry, should we be discussing acquisitions or even mergers. And the other thing that we look at is the viability of such a business, because sometimes a business can be operating in the same space, offering solutions, but the truth is, based on where that business is and the products that they're offering, the growth prospect isn't much, because the products that they may be carrying may be dated, because pharmaceuticals are so tricky. As you go along, the drugs that we used to use 5-10 years ago, they're now becoming, I don't want to say obsolete, but they are being replaced by newer technologies that are offering less drug to drug interaction, less drug food interaction, and therefore less side effects. Newer technologies producing drugs that are bringing about better efficacy, and so therefore patients get better results. And so these are some of the things that we have to look at in the portfolio of a company that is trading pharmaceuticals. Are they relevant in terms of the products that they're offering? And how can we leverage what is it that they're doing?
That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So thank you for that. I don't remember the second one that you mentioned. I think I remember you saying OneGS as well. That
OGS, of course. Those two companies, I would have to be invested in them and watching them. It's two JC old boys, and we're big on
that,
support.
that, that was the that I saw. So I'm happy you said it. So go ahead, share your
Uh,
OneGS
Yeah,
reasons.
they're in the technology space. I mean, they would have worked with us on this IPO as well. We're so happy for the partnership. They really guided us a lot. They did a lot of the heavy lifting as far as our digital creative pieces are concerned. And I think they did a fantastic job. And, I'm just interested and excited about that company now, especially in the age of AI, to see how they're going to be leveraging the different technological tools to continue to serve businesses like ours and help us to have a good digital footprint. I think their services are very, very, very relevant today and are in demand. And I'm excited to see how they're going to be using their platform to power the business forward.
Okay, cool. That's cool to know that they worked on the IPO prospectus. That makes sense because I checked out the website. It was well done, and so it makes sense now that you said it was a OneGS um effort. That makes sense. Um, so I am a OneGS shareholder. I have to disclose that. I've been a shareholder since IPO. I think for me though, I would say that so I like the space that they're in as well. I actually think that I was expecting to hear more on growth outside of the country, right?
Mhm.
Because when we heard about the IPO, their footprint, the HVSEO team, I was actually expecting to see more growth outside of Jamaica and in some of those territories because, and I know these things kind of take time, but that was what I was expecting to hear by this point, right? Because we're what, a year and a half into them being listed. Um, and for a business like that, we know that AI will be something that's talked about, but I think it's a relationship business. I think they're positioned well for that, so I think that helps them and not hurt them. Similar to what you mentioned about them working on the IPO, I see them doing that for more companies coming to market as well, because they do have they're well versed in web development, social media side as well. So I think they're great opportunities. It kind of sounds like I want to say the same thing that I did say for one-on-one, in terms of just I, I personally was expecting more growth,
Hmm.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
from my perspective, and just being from my vantage point, I know that there are a lot of things being worked on. And so I think these things sometimes take time. When you're in the technology space and technology is changing so rapidly, um, you have to be careful how you scale your business and how you manage, because you have to be very thoughtful and selective. There's a lot of research and a lot of just time that has to go into it, and I'm happy that you're an investor who remains committed to the business, because I think and certainly this holds true for us as well. When you enter this space, what you want is a pool of investors who, yes, they're looking for growth, and growth is important, but they understand the business and they understand the the the, the that there is need for some amount of patience to allow for the business to step by step get itself going, and just to grow in a way that is strategic, and not just rush, because you want to go for growth, but you need to be very selective about the opportunities that you seize, because I mean, a man can just say, all right, I'm in technology space and let's just go buy. See that company struggling? Let's put in an offer for sale. Yes, it gives you expansion. It might give you more revenue over the short to medium term. But if you don't spend time to look at those opportunities, you might find that you buy a company with technologies that are just gonna be obsolete in a matter of a year or two. That is how rapid the technology is changing. I mean, I think, as you say, it is a relationship business. I think they do definitely have the connections and the relationships for the business expansion. Did they do an acquisition sometime? Um,
They haven't done an acquisition since the high voltage one that was announced pretty much in the
in the
process.
process, right?
And
Um,
that's what I was
you know,
it felt like to me like they were positioned for other things to be
right.
announced.
And
It
so,
felt that way.
no, I think it takes time when you do such an acquisition, especially of an international company. It takes time to get in and to look at the framework, to reorganize, and then to push for build out. So I'm happy about where they are. I just think we need to be a little bit more patient and give the team some time to settle and to great things are gonna come. So let's watch the space and see what is coming.
So let me just add some more context to my seeming impatience. So how I view a junior market company,
Yes.
you have a fresh capital 200, 300 million. You now have a tax break. You're not going to be paying any taxes. It's the time for growth, right?
Mhm.
So I'm expecting a company who is newly listed to be focused on nothing but growth, whether organic or inorganic, because now we've essentially added fuel and gasoline to the fire that's already there, because a company is usually well positioned in its listing, right?
Mhm.
A company is not going to list at a time where they're likely going to be at all-time high in terms of revenues, all-time high in terms of team size, all-time high in terms of even outlook for the company. So I'm expecting that it's going to be a platform that's going to launch, and not necessarily to kind of now be scoping out the landscape, so to speak. I expect that for the first year, because newly listed companies have a lot of reporting requirements. So it makes sense, right? You have to know, do things quarterly. You have requirements from the JSC, requirements from the JCSC that's fine. That's why I usually give it a year to 18 months for you to kind of get acclimatized to that. But years 3, 4, 5, even all the way up to 10, as an investor, I'm thinking I want you to maximize that growth, milk as much growth as you can, because that's the best time for those who invest early and those who invest at IPO to see, majority of their returns. Because by the time you get to like year 9 or 10, you'd have been maybe around for maybe 5 to 10 years. At year 10 on listing, you're probably now a 15 to 20 year company. You're almost at like a blue chip stage, right?
Mhm.
So
Well,
that's
well,
my
I mean, fair point. But I also still think that there has been growth. When I look at the numbers that they've put out, you see that the company is growing. I do agree with you that um, faster growth rate can be more exciting and encouraging for an investor. But I think, and this is why I said to you when you asked me about how do I pick companies for investing in, I had said to you that understanding the business is really, really important because um, I'm not even sure if there are companies very similar to One Great that are listed. I know there are companies that do
no. I don't think there's
that,
any.
but I don't think I can point to a company that is their direct equal in terms of services and products that they offer. And I think certainly when you look at One Great, it's a special company. It's very, very relevant in terms of the products and services that they offer. I mean, as I said, we use them, and it was so, so pivotal for us to have partnered with them throughout our IPO process. They really took it on themselves. And it wasn't just our IPO, truthfully speaking. Our website development as well. You spoke to it. They were integral in that. They really took it on onto themselves. It was so much. They made it their thing, and I was happy for that. And I think a lot of companies, emerging companies, can benefit from that kind of service because they look at not just what is it that you want to achieve, but they look at you just like me as a pharmacist. When I'm in the retail space and I'm filling a prescription, I have to look at each patient for who that individual is. What is their individual diagnosis? You might have 2, 3 patients with the same diagnosis, but the patients are from different socio-economical background. The patients have different family history, those kinds of things. And that was the approach One Great took with us. They looked at the size of the business, they looked at what the business was doing, what was our ability to do some of the lofty things that we would have told them that we wanted to do. And they kind of sat with us and said, hey, this is scenario 1, this is scenario 2, scenario 3. Based on where you are, we think this is the best road to take. Take some time, study it, look at it, and then come back to us and tell us what you want. We will work with you and we will make the best effort to achieve what is it that you want. And so we found that kind of a working through and working partnership with them to be very, very useful. And we would encourage any other business who is looking to scale and you need digital support services, check out One Great. You won't regret it.
I'm sure Javane would love that glowing recommendation there. So I mean, again, I do like the business as I mentioned. I'm a shareholder, so clearly I still think that things are the upside is there moving forward. I just really do hope that they take advantage of this time
Mhm.
that they're on the market, and so time will tell, right? So there were some questions that I wanted to ask you. Oddly, I see that we're about 40 minutes in. So before I go into my second and you go into your third, I'll ask you those questions so that just in case we get to the hour and you may have to drop, they would have gotten those questions answered. All right? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, you sure you don't want to introduce David and bring him in? Because
Yeah,
I see that he's
David,
trying in the
David,
conversation.
the David is just getting home. I'm giving him some time.
David
And
Journey, they're tired, they pop down.
I do see that we have some questions for you as well. So when you mentioned drug food interaction, Shelley was asking, what exactly do you mean?
Oh, hi Shelley. I'm happy to answer that question. A lot of times when we take medicaments for treatment of various conditions and so on, um, the drugs do interact with the food that we eat. For example, one common one is antibiotics. If we're taking a certain kind of antibiotic, a lot of times you'll hear the pharmacists, or sometimes they'll put a little sticker to remind you, avoid things like antacid with it, iron supplements, and dairy products. And we will tell you it's not that you can't have these items with this specific antibiotic, but there has to be a 2 or 3 hour space between taking the antibiotic and having the food. A lot of times, depending on what the food is, it either can cause too much of the drug to get into the system. So you end up having a very negative experience with that drug, or it can cause too little of the drug to get into the system, and so it doesn't work as well as we would like it to. So that is what we mean by drug food interaction. And for those who may be on and heard drug drug interaction, if you are taking multiple drugs, at times it can be, just as I mentioned earlier, an antibiotic, and you may have to take a pain tablet as well. Sometimes the antibiotic and the pain tablet may have interaction. So we have to be very selective about which antibiotic goes with which pain tablet and those kinds of things. So those are just some of the things that we have to look at when it comes down to drug therapy.
Okay. You went into full teaching mode there, so that's very helpful.
It's a part of the job, patient education and patient empowerment. We're big on that as pharmacists. So I love it. It's my passion.
Ryan is asking if the IPO is fully subscribed. I believe you answered that already. So that's a yes. We're just not sure how much
Oversubscription.
subscribed you
Report
are.
from me in the morning.
Okay.
From me. Yeah.
Dejan is saying he tried to purchase, but he didn't get through. I'm not
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
there, Dejan.
The
So
John, we have been getting quite a few reports like that. I'm so sorry that you had that experience. Um, some persons, for various reasons had issues, but the truth is that we try to communicate, and we open different avenues to get persons assistance to walk through the steps. I really didn't find any major difficulties with the platform, but unfortunately some persons did experience this. But what I would say, Dejan, is if it is that you like the company and you're interested, there is always the opportunity to buy post closing. Get in early and you'll get it at a good price. I believe R.A. Williams is poised for much growth. So, we're looking to do some things in this space.
all right, cool. I think Sherwin, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, said most stocks are down now. So what's next? A global recession? Who knows, right? Because we've been talking about recession since about 2019 going into 2020. We had the pandemic, which gave us recession like symptoms, but nobody has really said we've had a recession. And then now with the impact of interest rates, etc., I think this is kind of, I think all the symptoms of a recession are there without it actually being said that we have a recession. So who knows? We saw the big sell-off in the U.S. market, especially for the tech stocks. I'm hurting right now because my Microsoft stock is down a lot right now. I think it was as high as 470. I saw it at 420 today. It might be even lower right now. But then I've been holding from about $50, so I'm okay. But it's just that's still a big drop. But when stocks have grown so much, you are going to see some major corrections at some point, right? So Sherwin, nobody knows, but I'd say just invest prudently is what I'd say.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'll ask you two questions oddly, and then we'll bring David on if that's okay.
Yeah, man,
Uh,
that's fine.
so I did want to ask you. Well, actually, I have six questions here, but I'll ask you two. I'll ask you two. So you gave us an overview of the industry at the start, so I really appreciated that. I wanted to ask you what are the key things that you're watching in terms of the industry that will make your assumptions right in terms of growth projections for the next 2 to 3 years.
You know, we're paying attention to a lot of things in the pharmaceutical industry that will impact the forward position of the business. One key area is that we know that there is an aging population, and with an aging population comes the need for pharmaceutical solutions to maintain health, you know, and to treat various non-communicable illnesses that afflict elderly persons. The truth is, as we age, our body doesn't respond, and all our organ systems don't respond the same. So we tend, especially if there is a lot of family history of certain diseases, we tend to develop cardiovascular conditions, hypertension, diabetes, and various other illnesses that require treatment. So that is something that we're paying attention to. There was a study by the IDB, I think it was, or the Inter-American Development Bank, that says our elderly population is growing, and about 15% of the population is considered aging. And with this number, we have to look at it. What are the solutions that we can offer for that category or demographic to maintain good health as they go along? When you look at our product portfolio and our spread, we are playing in this space. We do offer solutions for various category of non-communicable disease management in terms of pharmacology, pharmaceutical options available, diabetes, hypertension, glaucoma, and so on. That's one of the key metrics that we look at. One of the things we look at as well is the response of the government, because we do play in the public health system or space as well in terms of our government tender. And we notice that the government is keen on focusing on disease prevention, you know, and this is a cue for us that that is an area to pay special attention to. How can you provide products that help with maintenance of good health and prevention of some of these conditions that affect persons? So that's an area of opportunity as well that we can look at. We do play in this space, of course, with our multivitamins and so on, that helps to boost immunity and maintain health in general. But I think it is a vast area that can be expanded, that can see expanded participation of R.A. Williams. And one of the other thing that we look at is technology. The technology, as far as drug development, drug discovery, is changing. And so, one key area to pay attention to is gene therapy. You know, that is the future, we believe, of pharmaceutical treatment, where you're able to get the gene profile of each, the genetic profile of each patient. And so the treatment can be specifically designed for that patient, whether it is that you want to prevent an illness or you want to treat illnesses that are more, you become more targeted. And so you're able to have less or mitigate the harmful effects sometimes of pharmaceutical drugs with their side effects, you know. So you're able to minimize that, and you're able to be more targeted and get best results with gene therapy. So that is very key for us. You know, we are very excited about the pace at which drug discoveries are coming now. Sometimes it's not even a new drug that is discovered, but a new way of delivering that drug into the body. So we find that when it comes on to pharmaceutical dosage forms, we call them, whether you want to deliver a drug through injection, through different types of tablets, controlled release tablets, slow release tablets, micronized, tablets to achieve better efficacy. These are all new and late technologies that we're looking at in the space. So when we, R.A. Williams, look at a certain disease condition and the treatment options that are available in Jamaica, we don't just get up and say, oh, let's bring a drug for that. We look at what is available and we look at what is not available. And oftentimes, what we do is to test the relevance of what is not available, see if it is needed, and then try to bring that. So that is how we will continue to differentiate our company in the market, always trying to offer an alternative to what already exists. And trust me, it is so vast. Different diseases or new diseases are emerging with climate change and the impact of the UV rays from the sun. It is getting more and more intense. So we find that new ophthalmological diseases are emerging, like macular degeneration, and the impact of that not only on elderly patients but also the young. And so the need for ophthalmological care to protect the eyes, to slow macular degeneration of the retina, and those kinds of things, we're in the space and we're in the space to play. So those are some of the things that we're looking at.
Okay, cool. And I wanted to ask you one other question, and it's how can you leverage AI at all in your company as it stands right now? Do you see opportunities for efficiencies? You do. I think you mentioned a team of over 50 persons. Is it something that you're looking at to seriously integrate, or are you just kind of dipping your toes in the water right now?
It is something that we're looking at, Jermaine, because we believe there is the need for that kind of technology. We see where it can help us to improve or lessen the administrative burden that we face in terms of administration and that side of the business. AI tools, there are lots of them that are out there now that can help, with certain administrative functions that will make our jobs much, much easier, much more seamless, and make us more efficient. So that is something that we're looking at, and I think that can be integrated quickly because our team is already on that. Certainly, there are AI tools that can help us with our inventory management because that's a big area. As a emerging company, we're very, very proud of how we manage the inventory throughout COVID because, a lot of companies, like certainly some of our competitors who are listed, they reported being impacted by stockouts in the face of challenges with global logistics. But we responded internally by taking a look at our inventory, working with our suppliers, and just working out ways to ensure that we had levels of inventory that would sustain and meet the demands of the time. And so we realized lots of growth during the period. So I think as far as inventory management is concerned, AI has its place there. But in the industry, certainly AI can have an even a greater impact as far as drug discovery and drug development is concerned, because AI is able to manage large amounts of data at any one time. I expect that we should see newer treatments emerging because it is going to be much easier to take a drug from discovery phase to market phase quicker with the use of AI. And so companies that leverage that, I think, are going to be emerging as the leaders in the pharmaceutical space. And we intend to be one of those as well.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that. David, hopefully you're ready to join us because I'll need your thoughts here. Is a question for you here, oddly, from Damani, saying thoughts on Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs and its knock-on effect on the health of the population. Example, weight loss may lead to less hip replacement surgeries needed, etc. I don't know if you're able to comment on that.
Certainly I can. The GLP-1 class of drugs are one of the newer treatment classes that I'm talking about when I'm saying that, new emerging therapy is coming out because of technology and the efficacy of these drugs. They're amazing. They're showing amazing results. And And semaglutide, I'll use the drug name instead of the brand name because there are different brands available, is one of them. So the drug is called semaglutide, Damani. That's one of the drugs that we're looking at for introduce. A point to note is that it's not yet officially available in Jamaica. I'm not aware of a registered brand with the Ministry of Health. This is very, very important for persons to know and to take note of. Pharmaceutical preparations must be registered with the Ministry of Health. They have to go through a process of scrutiny and provide a lot of documentation and evidentiary support of the manufacturing process and the manufacturing sites and how they source their raw material for the preparation of such product. They have to supply this documentation to the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health, through its technical scientific officers, who are largely pharmacists, scrutinizes this. They do also testings of the drug, its stability, and the content of it. Like if you say there's 500 milligram of Ozempic in the bottle, they'll literally test to see if there is 500 milligrams of Ozempic in the bottle, kind of a thing. So they do that kind of a testing. And so as far as these new therapies are concerned, they do have a lot of advantage. Weight loss is one of the most noted benefits of using Ozempic. Why is it such a highly touted benefit? Because patients who experience symptoms for diabetes and hypertension, obesity is a main contributor of it. And so either in preventative care or in treatment care, weight loss is a focus of the attending healthcare professional who will be discussing treatment options with a patient. If you want to reduce your blood sugar, if you want to maintain normal blood pressure levels, your BMI is something that you have to continue to pay attention to. Your waist size versus your height and your weight, you have to pay attention to, because there are ratios that you have to maintain if you want to have a healthy life and live a healthy lifestyle. So Ozempic is one of them that contributes to rapid or ideal weight loss if the drug is used properly. And it has the GLP-1s have their place, and they are now being positioned as leading drugs to be prescribed for patients who require them. But not because somebody may be overweight, it doesn't mean that they are a right fit for Ozempic. So I would recommend anyone who is considering treatment, specifically for weight loss, speak to your physician just to determine that this is a right treatment option for you. Because we do recommend that in using pharmaceuticals, we do so responsibly, and we do so under the supervision of a healthcare professional who is qualified and authorized to do so. So you can talk to a pharmacist, you can talk to your physician, your primary care physician, and get some further advice on whether you're a candidate for this or whether it is relevant. But yes, it has its place in treatment.
Yeah. Sounds like we need a 101 class from you about this. So, all right, David, I'm waiting for you to turn on your camera, and then I can add you. All right, welcome, David Rose. Good to have you here with us again.
Hi, David. You're
You're muted.
muted.
Good night, guys. Glad to be here.
Yes, how are you?
I'm all right. All right. Just busy day as usual.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me catch you up. So Audley has taken the JC route in his first two picks, one-on-one and one great studio. I did my first, which was Tropical Battery, and I was about to do my second, but I figure we'll get you in the loop now as well. So floor is yours for your first stock to watch.
Well, one stock definitely to watch, which is going to take some time, is the Sagicor Select Funds. Why do I say that? So, just for those who haven't been aware as to what has been happening in recent times, so Sagicor Investments, as per manager, along with the board, has proposed to change Sagicor Select Funds from a listed company or listed fund in a sense to a unit trust. Who doesn't know what a unit trust is? Think of everybody putting their money together, and you have a manager that ensures that the money is invested and grows to benefit everybody. So currently, we're seeing whereby Sagicor's Select MD is trading at like $1.08, respect to its NAV, vis-a-vis the trading price around 70 cents, which is about close to 50% unrealized gain between the current stock price vis-a-vis the NAV. And realistically speaking, even with all of the relatively depressed prices, the largest components in Select MD, which would be, your Wisynco, your Carib Cement, your Last M, Grace Kennedy, those companies are definitely, expanding. They're not sitting idly by. So once their growth continues to get into second gear, that's going to likely translate to higher stock prices as well, because Wisynco is just completing the tail end of their multi-billion dollar expansion, multi-billion dollar expansion for Jamaican dollar terms. Lasco manufacturing is looking more towards the export market. Carib Smith is almost complete with their expansion as well, and the Jamaican economy is growing, and it companies also looking to take some of their excess capacity to other markets, in this case to the overseas markets. So in essence, it's a relatively decent play depending on your time horizon and your ability to wait, because the thing about a unit trust most firms appreciate is that a unit trust, you're usually able to actually exit the unit trust at the NAV, vis-a-vis the listed fund right now where you have to actually exit at the best bid price. So pretty decent, discount at the moment, and it's going to take some time. And let me give you a context to why it's going to take time for persons who are not aware. So they have to go to the Supreme Court, make an application to do this scheme. Supreme Court's term just ended today. They're going on recess, and after recess, they'll come back around September, right? When they come back around September, we're going to probably find out if they get a court date within that September period. After they get a court date and the court says, hey, you have to go through this process and everything, it takes at least 21 days, which is 3 weeks, for the actual special shareholder meeting to actually be kept based on, the Established Companies Act and regulations of the JSE. So anyway, take you probably can probably October, November, in good scenarios, to have that special shareholder meeting. After that shareholder meeting, they'll have to go back to the court, say court to get shareholder approval. After the shareholder approval and the court approves, go to FSC. After FSC, have to go through the process of converting and ensuring that all the shareholders are able to actually have unit trust accounts. And then, after that entire process, it can then allow for, persons to potentially, in this case, redeem at NAV. But the entire process is going to take some time, just because court term just ended, and continue September, early September, and it is going to have some time that is going to have to occur before the process actually takes place. But still a decent opportunity for some persons who will look at that discount opportunity.
Yeah, that does sound like quite a bit of time. I think your timeline is very optimistic.
No, I said, Jeremy, it's an optimistic timeline, but at the same time, as I said, it's something that you do have to necessarily sit down and wait on. Once one part of the process has started, so for me, I check the Supreme Court's commercial court list every week to know what's happening in this country in terms of commercial law developments. And I also read some of the judgments as well to know what's going on. So once I see the court date occur, I can then, gauge to myself when my opportunity to actually enter a small position.
Yeah.
So it's just timing in this instance.
Yeah. So I'm weighing this very same thing right now, where I'm seeing a lot of great opportunities. My capital has shrunk in this season because I'm not exiting certain stocks that I have. I'm up on just a handful, right? Stocks like Dolphin Cove, Trans Jamaica, I'm up on. There are some other stocks I'm down maybe 10, 20, 30%, and I'm just waiting. I could, so no, if something is extremely attractive, I may just take that 20, 30% loss if I think that I can get 50 to 100%. But I mean, I liked the Sagicor Select Fund play, but it looks like, at least to me, when I first saw it and we spoke about stock market money, I was guessing 12 to 18 months. And I was like 3 months ago, right? So it sounds like my timeline that you're saying could be, I mean, best case 6 months, worst case it could very well be more than that. So it just didn't seem attractive enough to me to want to hold a position when I'm not gonna see anything within. I mean, I'm sure that's a dividend coming from Trans Jamaica in October, November. I'm sure that a Dolphin Cove dividend is coming and some other things that I'm looking at. So I'm sure that Tropical is gonna do their thing this year. So I'm just, oddly, I don't know if you have any thoughts on Sagicor. Like, I don't know if you heard that story, by the way.
No, I've been hearing the story, but to be honest, especially when David started to talk, him lose me because me not understand half of them something there. I just know the very, very basic things, but when him start talk about, I don't even know what him say. Him,
So
but
are you familiar with the Sagicor Select
you know,
Funds?
I'm familiar with the Sagicor Select Funds. I believe it's part of my portfolio. I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
So what
So
they're doing is converting those shares to a unit trust. Well, they're
Mm,
seeking to get approval to do that.
to do
So a
that. Right.
big issue for them so far is that pretty much from IPO, the stock has not been trading at what's considered the fair value, which is the net asset value. So by
Mhm.
them converting it to a unit trust, persons will have the opportunity to do a few things. One, they'll be able to always sell at the fair value, which would be the NAV. And two, it would create more liquidity for them in that they don't have to wait for the market to buy and sell. Because if I wanted to buy select funds now, I have to go and buy from the ask side, right? So I mean, David was just explaining the process that may take anywhere from 4 to 6 months best case to maybe upwards of a year. And so I was just saying that didn't seem attractive enough to me to want to do something with the many opportunities I see for my cash right now. So that's all. David, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
no, so that's really what it is, Ali. Like, it's just in this case them trying to create a better opportunity for shareholders
Mhm.
because let's put it in perspective, right? The NAV is assets minus liabilities, which is shareholder equity divided by the number of shares. As it currently stands, shareholders are not able to close that effective gap between the NAV and the market price. So, for context, what I was pointing out was that depending on when certain things occur in that whole legal process, regulatory process, there's a potential opportunity for somebody to actually take advantage of the situation because what happens almost when you seem to understand what a unit trust is that when interest has redemptions, either two things happen. Either the fund manager looks at the interest cash reserves and takes some of that cash to pay out the redemption, or they will go and sell some of the assets on the market to actually fulfill that redemption. Now, you might make it sell it in the market directly, and make it find another buyer, but that's what happens. So, what I'm pointing out is that effectively you have two parts of the equation. If you can time it appropriately and you have the stomach and wherewithal to wait, you can potentially get a 50% gain between when you purchase it and when you're actually able to realize that redemption at NAV when it's fully converted. And then there's other parts of the equation, which is when they do have to be selling some of these shares the market to reduce redemptions, then some stocks might get cheaper, but they're better for some of us. So it's a dual-sided equation, basically.
Understood. It's much clear. I'm really happy we had this discussion because you cleared up a lot of things for me, you know.
It's not an easy thing to understand. It's new to our market, but it's a very relatively involved process. It's not something that you can just explain in one go off the bat. So when I explained it earlier, I was explaining for persons who were relatively aware and what a unit trust was. So I don't mind breaking it down further for you to understand as well.
What it says to me as a person new in the investment space is how Sagicor is responding to the needs of its investors. Because if you're saying to me that the stock is not trading at the fair value, um, and this is one of the smart ways that I think they can manipulate
Not
uh,
manipulate, but
manipulate, but this is one of the strategic moves that they can make to ensure that investors are getting the return on their investment, fair return. Then it is certainly a move that I agree with them taking, you know. So, and that's the reason why I really like them as a partner, because we do a lot of different works with them. They've really been very smart, so I like working with them.
so trust me, it this whole stock thing. There are a lot of little nuances, but there are opportunities for you to make money once you understand the nuances. It's sometimes rough to the ordinary person, but money is to be made by knowledge, not by just gambling alone. That's a better way to express it. So while Jeremy step away for a side for a couple minutes, I'll just get into another pick. In this case, main event. And the reason why I said main event is we saw the news today in Jamaica, which is a quite a massive development, because anytime that contract is kept and main event gets to, or it actually awarded that right to set up the contract and actually operate it, it's gonna be a massive windfall. So for those who don't, main event does, they are effectively, in event management, for a very simple way to explain what they do. So you go to probably if you go to a Shirley meeting, main event stop the screens behind the team or the particular parties present. So like when you see digital screens present, or the main event set it up. The stage and the rest of the design, them as well. You probably go to a private soiree, you see this elegant, array or design in this particular venue. They probably were involved in that. Weddings, which is on the M style, they'll coordinate the entire event, equipment, and so forth. We've seen the Chris Brown, Burna Boy concerts, champs. So this is just to give some context in terms of what main event does. And in our case, Jamaicans gravitated heavily towards Buju Banton's, Redemption concert after it was released back in 2017, I believe it was, around that time. So in the case of, the latest release of today's dancehall artist, you're probably going to see something similar in terms of just business if there are a number of concerts that take place. And then, Jeremy is kind of pointing out we need to next you with your third stock to watch oddly.
My third stock to watch was Spur Tree. I really like the company. I like the industry that they're playing in. You know, I'm big on pharmaceuticals because I like to solve issues there in terms of helping persons to get access to healthcare. But I'm big on food as well. Agro processing and agribusiness is a major area that I'm interested in, and so I really like Spur Tree. I think the work that they do and the products that they offer are high quality. When I travel, my family uses a lot of their products and so on, and I'm seeing the impact. I see them on the shelves in a lot of the major stores, especially from New York all the way down to DC. You'll see them in all the major stores, and I'm just happy to see a Jamaican company having that kind of a footprint on the international market. And so that's one of the businesses I'm watching as well. I'm happy to see the impact that they can have by boosting their revenue and playing in the international space, but supporting local farmers and using local farming agricultural produce to form the basis of their business in terms of the different products that they manufacture. I really like that kind of a setup. And so yeah, that would be my third pick. That's something that I'm watching. I'm hoping for big things for them. I know they have to one of the areas that they have to focus on is how they can have consistent supply of raw materials that they need to ensure that the ever increasing demand for their products is met, because they're producing canned callaloo, canned akis, hot pepper sauces, and so on. And so that needs a lot of raw material. You need a lot of hot peppers to continue to produce those. You need a lot of akis, and you need a lot of callaloo. And so I think that presents an opportunity for them to partner a lot with local farmers. They've certainly been doing that, and I expect that there will be an expansion of that footprint in the local space, and so it will have positive spin-off for the economy as well on a whole. But yeah, that's
No,
my
I agree there. And one thing we shouldn't forget is the fact that Grace Kennedy, just took the recent stake in Spur Tree, 20% stake, Penn stake a board seat. And with GK's already expansive presence in food, it can potentially serve them well to support them in terms of meeting potential shortfalls that might exist in terms of supply. So Spur Tree, gets its agricultural supply through different parts of Jamaica, but having that stability in supply with stability in prices will be a crucial factor for their growth going forward, because while they do have a very good business model, one of the major countries that they're going to face is really the availability of supply. And when they're introducing new product offerings to the market, which is diversifying their product range, and they acquired Canco, that key focus in ensuring that they're able to actually get that supply situation under control is going to be very crucial.
Yeah, you're right. And then the impact of burial as well on the space would have, the hurricane would have wiped out a lot of produce that was maturing for reaping. So we know that that is expected to have an impact. But hopefully there were plans in place to manage that, and so they'll be able to navigate this space over the next couple of months until we're able to see some recovery in terms of farmers being able to replant and then get some of these produce out again quickly for them. So I'm just watching that company. So we'll see how it grows. I'm running out of time,
Yeah,
Jermaine.
yeah,
Yeah,
man. I was gonna say thank you so much, Adley. Very great discussion. I
yeah.
know that you have to run. We will have to schedule some time for you because I think you have a lot that you can educate us on. Congratulations again. I'll see you at the listing ceremony
Thank you
in a
very much,
couple of
sir.
days.
And David, take care. All right. Okay.
All right, guys. Apologies for that. The plan was for an hour for Audley. He does have another appointment, so we kind of kept him past the hour. So David, Sagicor Select Funds main event. Thank you so much for not saying the name of the artist. I appreciate you. Um, so for my third one, did I say my second one already, guys? I don't remember.
You mentioned the Dolphin Co, TGH, and Tropical earlier, but I'm not
Just
sure if
yeah.
you
So
meant.
I was banned from saying Trans Jamaica by Shelly, and I don't want to say Dolphin Cove because that was my last pick. I was concerned with Beryl and Dolphin Cove, but I haven't heard anything like the park being closed or anything like that. So I think we're good there. I do like Select Funds, but the timeline just didn't make sense for me for now. So I'm not watching it now because I think, as you said, it's kind of way off. Um, so I think my next one would be um, hmm. All right, David, you go first. You go and I'll say mine too. Because I think I changed my pick since day because I was watching a program, and I think I may change what I had in mind to share. So, oh wait, no, I remember. Hold on. So the one that I'm watching next is actually Regency Petroleum, right? I think that we saw we've seen them weather the storm, so to speak, right? And I think that at this quarter specifically and Q4, we're going to be seeing um, more quarters with them having the business model that they're looking to deploy in full effect. I think their expenses have been sort of normalized, and so I think we may see highest profits. Now I don't know, but I'm watching them for this Q and next. Um, and I really would love to see. I haven't seen the official announcement yet about the Spanish Town Road location. I'm imagining that we will have an earnings call with them soon, and we'll hear an update there. I don't know if Beryl would have probably pushed that back a little bit. I don't know, but Regency, I was about last year this time, as giving them till around this point to see what they'd be able to come with. So Regency is my second pick pretty much.
So my third pick, is really with respect to Wisynco. And just for context, Wisynco, is a very good distributor and manufacturer. So what do I mean by that? So for those who don't want to forget, Wisynco distributes Coca-Cola, Haagen-Dazs, Creamy, Jamaican Teas products now, and there's a variety of True Juice, that sugar brand I can remember immediately, along with that rum. But they distribute a lot of goods in that perspective. And then this is all in Jamaican market. And then they also manufacture products in the drinking space or beverage space. So you have the examples of water, can water, boom. You have the new carbonated cran water drink flavors. And the thing is, they just finished, in a sense, the completion of their expansion by Lakespin. Think about it for a second. Wisynco was maxed out before they were completing this expansion. So now, as they get into that train with that additional capacity, and they're able to build into deeper international markets, that 10% focus of revenues being from exports can truly transform that income statement and take us into a different ballpark. And the thing is, because Nika is always so full of cash, they're always primed to take on acquisition opportunities where they present themselves. And that's one of the good things about being cash as a business. You have choices. You don't have to be saying, all right, I have to go call this fiancé or that bank or anything to considering a deal. You can make a deal on the spot and find yourself financing later. So there are the numbers coming by the end of this month, actually the end of August, not end of July, because we're still in July. But it's a very good business, strong succession planning, have a solid team of leaders, and bar next to none, very hard to displace as a distributor based on their presence, and their manufacturing capacity also speaks volumes. Be right back, guys.
Yeah, it's an excellent business, by the way. So David's pick was just Wisynco. I know if Rennie was here, we probably should have Rennie on for our stocks to watch at some point. So my wife, Rennie, I know she has Wisynco in her portfolio, so she'd be happy to hear that. Um, Excellent company. I know Andre Thompson likes Wisynco as well. Um, so let me take some comments. We're pretty much almost at the end. I will take some comments though, and let me know, guys, any company you'd want me and David to talk about for the next few minutes. I say financing Fesco is a better choice than Regency. So I like both companies, honestly. I think Fesco has been just doing great things in terms of their performance. I think their last year they did almost 500 million, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a great business for sure. We have to pick one, is what I'll say, right? And I think that just at the point that Regency is at, I'm watching them more only because I think the stage that they're at it's a critical stage, it's a pivotal stage, and so they do have the opportunity to grow at a faster pace and rate than I think Fesco can grow, only because Fesco has the type of footprint they already have, right? So, for example, Regency can maybe realize, you know, 50 to 100% growth in profits. I'm not sure if Fesco can realize the same growth, if that makes sense, right? I see you saying also that Wisynco is a good pick, but it's best for long term. So I realized that Wisynco is ideal for long term like 2 years ago, meaning I had it in my portfolio. I realized that there's one point in the year where Wisynco will see like a 20-30% jump, and then it goes right back to where it was. So last year, I don't know if you guys remember, it went to almost $30. Then shortly after, it went back down below 20, or at least between 20 to 22. I don't know where it is right now, but I do agree with you that Wisynco may be best a long term buy, which I think is why it's in Renee's portfolio, because she's a long term investor. She certainly is not looking at a quarter by quarter or even a yearly basis. She's thinking what company she would want to have in her portfolio 10, 20 years from now. So um Lasem actually like both Lasco companies, Orville. Um I like both Lasco companies. I think Lasco Distributors released something today about an acquisition of a property. We have an announcement, real Lasco. I cannot share it yet. Well, I don't know if I can share it yet. I'll find out. But I like both. About both Lasco companies is what I will say. Um, I would like a quick thought on Dolphin Cove. James, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Dolphin Cove is I do hold Dolphin Cove. Full disclosure. Um, it is my dividend stock to watch for the year. It actually surpassed Trans Jamaica just on dividend yield, right? Because at the price of $24, I think IC Insider did an article to say that the dividend for the last 12 months would have been a 10% yield, because it did a 60 cent dividend per quarter, I think. And that's $2.40 for the year. 10% yield on a $24 stock is ridiculous, right? Um, so, James, I am biased towards Dolphin Cove. I cannot answer that question without any bias. And so that's all I'll say about Dolphin Cove. But I'm enjoying those quarterly checks. And yeah, that's all I'll say. Um, yeah, Stephen, so Audley was very bullish. David, I don't know if you're ready to come back on. Audley was bullish on 1GS. And so, yeah. I'm just taking some comments here, David.
Sure.
Main market is where most of the focus should be. So, I might agree with you here, finessing finance, because you're saying in terms of long-term stock picks. So here's the thing. I don't know if it was Simon Johnson who said it when he joined us a few months ago. So I normally look to the junior market for companies that can grow 25, 50, 100%. But I've actually been seeing some solid moves from the companies on the main market over the last 2 years. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, but companies like Trans Jamaica, companies like Lasco, um, I think we've just been seeing more consistent growth from those companies. I don't know if because they're more mature, they have more cash. I don't know, but the junior market has been making me feel a little cautious in terms of some of my investments. And I know a lot of persons holding junior market companies are down 20, 30, maybe even 40%. So, David, you have a question. One Coco is asking, what's your outlook for GK? So guys, I think One Coco has a YouTube channel. Let me know if that's right. I think you've done a couple of videos. Guys, please check out their channel. Well, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but One Coco, I think, has a YouTube channel. You're in our Telegram group as well. Guys, check it out. Show your support, of course. Right. So, David, I don't know if you have anything that you want to say, re GK.
So I only got to do a little cursory glance today on GK. The results came out today. For those who don't remember, GK, like JMMB and NCB Financial Group, are listed on the TTSE. So the report came out first on the TTSE before the JSE. But in the case of GK, they're doing the most appropriate strategy to grow the business. What I'm looking forward to see is how the next acquisitions are going to really carry them forward. What do I mean by that? So GK right now is looking to, well, they just acquired a 20% stake in Spur Tree. They're also looking now to complete another acquisition in terms of later this year. It was mentioned at the AGM by the CEO, Don Webby. And the reason I mention these acquisitions being important is that Jamaica is only a population of 3 million. There is a limit to how far you can scale, especially when you are GK, which already has a strong market presence and dominance. So there are limits. So that's just one major thing. But at the same time, just because of this acquisition strategy and then plan to international markets, they're looking to, in effect, create strong and further growth value opportunities going forward for, shareholders. So this is a very good consideration for GK's future forward. And I say it's a good future consideration in the sense that GK's strongest business line, which was always money services, while it did see a flat decline in revenue, meaning not a marginal change, the drop in profitability before tax was quite pronounced. And it's coming against the backdrop of, not just reduced remittance transactions, but also against the fact that you're having a shift on top of that in terms of how persons receive remittances. So the remittances received digitally carry a lot less in terms of margin vis-a-vis that in terms of cash or in office or in branch. But let us see how things are going to play out, because I was reading last Financial Services and a report today, and they mentioned the same thing, that the remittance business is not as attractive as it used to be in one point in time, and it's getting a lot more competitive, alongside the fact that your global partners like Western Union and MoneyGram are, in this case, paying some commissions to these agents or primary agents in Jamaica for the remittance service to the local market. So GK's push into insurance, more into investing, more into towards food, it will be a crucial step forward for the transformation they're looking to do by 2030. And for Damani's question, you are correct. Access no longer has that penalty that will apply after October 30, 2024. So while the JSC had that article into the Jamaica Observer, talking about 15 years, the 15 years have not technically elapsed as yet for access. That will occur at the end of October. So they're listed in October, it was October 30 or 31, 2009, and it's 15 years afterwards. So basically, come November 1, Access's main shareholder, which is beneficially owned by Marcus James, the chairman, could potentially try to make a takeover offer some of the larger shareholders take the company private, but taking the company private is not always a good strategy to take when you have the opportunity to leverage the public capital markets for that future growth potential. So as the current stands, actually there's a lot of space in terms of ability to raise new capital to rejig the business, because Access right now is facing what I'd call a crossroads, similar to what JK would have faced had they not been so focused on international expansion. So Access is balance sheet, about 93 to 90% of their business as a microcredit company is personal loans. Now, it's a great business. It's worked for them, 20 plus years strong, 24 years this year, going 25 next year, but here's a problem with Access business model in its current state. They are competing against the commercial banks who are going to use data analytics to look at your transaction data, how much money give you a salary, and just send you an offer automatically to say, hey, we see that, you potentially like an offer. How about it's in a payday loan? How about you get a loan at 20, 200, 100 basis points off the headline rate? And that's instant. That's very quick and fast. And, white persons can say, hey, accessories underserved community, this and that. The reality is the growth isn't going to be very constrained at that lower spectrum of the market, especially, as I mentioned, with the competition from the commercial banks who have data on their side to make things a little bit more fast and seamless. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it would make sense to go private for the type of company they are. You only benefit from leveraging the markets for raising capital, as you mentioned. You only benefit from the visibility of being listed. What I would love to see for them is that they actually do more. Like, I just feel like they haven't really sought to aggressively grow the business like I've seen, for example, a company like Dollar Financial would do, right? It just feels like they're kind of, saying, this is our business model, this is how we make money. It's just kind of, and it's the same thing I was talking about when a company gets to that 20, 25-year mark. It may feel like, okay, we know how to make money. Let's just leave things on autopilot. And that's it. It doesn't feel like they've really sought to innovate and to continue to grow the business. Like the most we heard about them was when there were talks about the acquisition from Dollar. After that, you haven't heard anything from them really, right? So it just feels like they need, I don't know if you'd say a change in strategy, change in management. I don't know, right? I don't know enough about the company.
Strategy, to be honest, Jermaine, because for context, Dollar's approach is more toward working with businesses, which has a very strong upside case in the sense that whereas an individual might be in a state of perpetual debt and you just one burial or one quarter from financial ruin, with businesses, they have an incentive to stay alive. And on top of that, there's more flexibility to actually create products for the business class and it is for the individuals. And the thing is, for context, Jermaine, right? If you look at Access's balance sheet back in 2018 vis-a-vis now, Access was earning more money in 2018 with a smaller balance sheet.
Yeah.
And 2023 AGM in September last year, they said it, which is what I was speaking about earlier, that they've had to compete more with the commercial banks, which has that they've had to reduce the particular spread they offer on loans. And because of that, they're effectively charging less with more money, which means that there's less money being generated on the income statement.
Yeah.
Because if you use profit before tax, is the best indicator. So I'm gonna bring it up in a quick second, but if you use PBT as the best indicator for Access, for them to actually be having a earning less when their balance sheet is bigger today, is quite an indictment. So let's bring up Access Financial Services 2018 numbers right now.
Share, or just say them, but
I'm gonna say it. It wouldn't be making any sense to actually share it on screen. But let me just bring it. I'm bringing it up quickly right now, Jermaine. So
It just feels like a missed opportunity for them. Honestly, I mean, I thought they were well positioned to grow in this climate that we're in right now, right? Because we see, I know dollar goes after entrepreneurs and small businesses, right? It's a different segment, but the personal finance segment or the personal loan segment should still be growing because of the state of the economy, right? People still need financing because maybe incomes are being reduced or maybe persons are in between jobs, etc. To me, it just makes sense for them to grow in this season as well.
so I went back to Access's 2018 numbers, Jermaine, and I'm gonna mention three key figures. And I want persons to take note of these figures, right? So their total operating income 2018 was $1.70 billion. The total operating income, right? The profit before tax was $801.95 million. Why didn't I go to net profit? Access still had a tax break to benefit from at that point, which is why I had to use operating income 1.710 billion and profit before tax 801 million. So call it about.
All right, we lost David for a second. He will rejoin in a moment, I'm sure. All right. All right. So let me take some comments. So Orville agrees that they should be more aggressive. One Coca saying good insights as usual. You're very welcome. Orville, who was this question for? Was this for GK ambition to list on the International Stock Exchange? I know NCB has that ambition as well. I'd spoken with Robert about it. Ready to go, David? Okay.
Apologies, I accidentally hit my webcam cable, but yeah. So
Yeah, man.
1.70 billion,
Yeah.
1.70 billion operating income, 801 million in profit before tax, right? And the company's balance sheet at the time was $3.52 billion. So you generate 1.70 billion in operating income, 801 million in PBT with a $3.52 billion balance sheet. Now, I'm going to use the company numbers, not the group, the company in particular, right? In the great year of 2024, Access had 1.87 billion in, sorry, 1.97 billion in operating income and 595.25 million in profit before tax. And this is against with a balance sheet of $7.19 billion. So let's go to the figures again. 2018, 1.70 billion in operating income, 801 million in profit before tax, 3.5 billion on the balance sheet. Call it 6 years later, 2024, 1.97 billion operating income, 595 million in profit before tax with a $7 billion balance sheet. So the balance sheet is twice as big
Yeah,
as
and
back
not
in
generating the same
2018,
output.
and yet they're making a lot less.
Yeah,
Well, or it's basically marginally more than they were earning in 2018. Now
yeah,
the economy is very different back then, but at the same time, this operating income perspective kind of shows you enough.
yeah,
So access, in my opinion, needs that strategic investor to step in and see the value, take it forward,
yeah,
because while I do come in proven decision back in 2019 to have actually, sold part of the access stake to maintain the JMB stake, it created extra liquidity in the market. And because access is so quiet, the stock price suffered. So because access was one of the most tightly stocks on the JSE of our proven sale, it was trading in the $40 region.
yeah,
Now it's traded as $21 today, and lost $18 in the prior days. So the extra liquidity alongside the company's relative what you'd call stagnated growth is showing
yeah,
up. So in all honesty, Access is a case study of what you shouldn't do when you plateau, because Access when you think about for a second as a business, they were the first competed in the junior market, had the most exposure, had tax benefit. They expanded locally by acquiring other players, and even with respect to the fact that Access would have acquired a business in Florida before COVID, and COVID has made that business a continuous loss maker. So all I'm saying is that in case of Access, they really, for them going to go private, I don't think it's in their best interest.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
agree. I agree.
right
I
now,
want,
I think it's best for them to look to build a strong investor relations platform, and also look at resetting the business going forward, because in the same article today, I just mentioned that hey, they have a mobile app that persons can use to check their loans and document status, but what
that
does that
doesn't move the
actually add
needle. That
value?
doesn't move the needle. That doesn't move the needle. Um,
So Lanesra, I just saw the comment Lanesra, and I mentioned it earlier.
yeah,
Access is competing with the commercial banks now, so they have to reduce the interest that they charge on loans to compete with the banks. And it's something I said in out of opinion, something that was said at the AGM by the chairman himself or the CEO himself at last year's AGM.
yeah. So I mean, one thing we've learned and we've seen, like you can never write off a listed company, right? We've kind of have enough experiences of that. And so I want to just say for all the companies we've spoken about, good or bad, it doesn't determine the future, right? So somebody may watch this video 5 years from now and the landscape is completely different for all the companies that we're mentioning. I just wanted to have that context that all we're talking about is what we're seeing right now based on the information we have, because that's all we can speak on, right? I really do hope that they find some way to make things interesting though, because if you look at their profitability, you look at where Dollar Financial is and their profitability, very soon you're gonna start asking questions like, well, one stock is priced here and they're performing X, one stock is priced here and they're performing Y. Why why aren't the prices more similar, right? And we know with stock that would bode well for, right? So just say that. So David, any closing thoughts? I know there's a lot that was released. Like I was just looking at our news feed today over the last couple of days. There's a lot that I don't want to talk about. But outside of stocks to watch, anything interesting on the market that you don't want to talk about for the next 10 minutes? You're muted, sir.
Apologies. So one thing I can say looking forward to right now is to kind of see how this equity line wind up is going to take place, because this is going to be a relatively new experience for a couple investors. So that's a major relative highlight. But in the same dispensation, what I will say is that in this current environment, while there are deals, judge the deals very carefully. And let me tell you why I say that. Right now, if you look at certain stocks in the market, they look cheap from a nominal standpoint. Look at a PE
Some
standpoint,
some of
cheap.
them are cheap
P,
for a reason.
no, but no, look at in German. PB
Yeah.
perspective, cheap as well. But here's the bigger risk. Bigger risk is liquidity risk. If you need to sell that stock, can you reasonably get out of that stock? Trying to make a weak turn can move volumes of millions daily.
Easily. Yeah.
Other stocks cannot say the same case. So for me right now, I'd be very cautious about taking certain deals. Now because the price is cheap, or you can make a trading opportunity. But for me, it's about, can I exit? If I cannot exit, I'm not going to take it. So even today, for example, I saw a stock trade at a particular price. I did the math and I said, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to risk X amount of money to make 2% net? The risk graduation in that scenario is just too high
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me and for my blood. And these are just the things that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah.
And then, on the other standpoint, there's value out there that just come down to basic research. So for me, over the last couple of months, I've been buying preference shares that see at discounts, extreme discounts. So in some instances, I need to sell them at significant premiums to collect artificial dividends as well. And I was reinvesting the money back and forth every second. So
I'm just remembering, David. Did PBS was their suspension listed? I don't know if I saw a notice that it was.
to correct you, the suspension wasn't lifted. The audit financials are still pending.
Oh,
And the thing is, the maturity of the preferential should have taken place yesterday. But let us see what happens when the company does finally publish its audited numbers and they notice that the company
that,
is the redemption of those preference
that
shares.
that's so unexpected for them, though. I would never expect that. And for it to be this long out. Interesting. Lanestra is asking about T-Tech. You heard about the acquisition by Simply Secure. I think it was. I reached out to the CEO, by the way, for an interview. Haven't gotten a response yet, so hopefully we can have him on. Any thoughts on T-Tech?
Just the one point to make is that Simply Secure is actually 5 years old. I found it very interesting. So a mutual friend that we have in the group
So,
Jermaine, he
so
was
you know what that made me think of? A conversation that we had earlier. I'll just say that. So continue.
so the company is 5 years old, acquiring T-Tech, which is about probably 16 years old at this point, 17 years at this point. T-Tech has a great relationship with GK, has a relatively established presence in the Jamaican marketplace. Not a big player like other companies, but it is still a platform to build off of. So that's what happens there. But for context, a lot of persons, even some persons I work with to an extent, are making a mistake in how to interpret this whole situation. With takeover offers, understand this very carefully. The takeover offer is meant as a way to give you as a shareholder the opportunity to say, hey, I don't probably like what you're going to do going forward. So I get my exit. So that's how the rules are built. So once there's a change of control, the rules say, hey, let's make an offer to everybody else so that if they don't want to stick with you, they have a way to actually step aside and move on with their business elsewhere.
Yeah.
But, and this is the big but, a takeover offer does not mean that the company will be delisted or the company's numerical shareholders intend to
Yeah.
delist the company. And I say it's because of how the language is written. It can be convinced new persons who are looking at the market. So, for example, we've seen A.S. said they plan to take a majority stake in CPJ. I don't believe that A.S. will likely want to deal with CPJ.
Yeah.
So that's one point. Two, once you see a takeover price occur at one particular price, or what I should say is when you see a shareholder acquire a particular investor at a particular price, it likely means that you're probably going to see a price that's similar or slightly higher to what was actually done in the more recent transaction. So in the scenario of Derriman CFF, Derriman acquired 49% initially, acquired at, let's just say, $2. They acquired the latter remaining amount to say 10% at say $2.50. So in the case of CPJ right now, let us say AS Biden comes back next month and he's going to take over bid. Then if you get CPJ at $9, assuming that basic price of $9 or basic price of $9 and their penalty at $10.50, then you can have potentially a 16% gain that can occur from this kind of strategy. So I'm not saying this price that AS Biden is going to take to look to the remaining shares. I'm referencing historical precedents as a key point to inform a perspective. So just highlighting that, this might be a potential way that things are going to play out in the sense that you might see AS Brand come back and offer $10.50 as well, which is the transaction price they paid to acquire the initial tranche of shares they wanted. And if that does occur, if some investors that are buying at $8.50, $8.80, it might be a good to payday for them. If they go higher, it probably works even better for the existing shareholders. So just these are the points I explained them because language isn't geared towards the average investor. And if you try and call the GS, you're probably going to get a clear enough answer. So you had to kind of highlight that point.
Yeah.
So even if it's a
I'll,
T, if the shareholder plans to make the same takeover offer, it's not likely to be an offer, probably above $2.20, $2.50 at best estimates. So I
yeah.
was making these points so that persons are informed as to what really is going on.
Yeah, I'm looking at how much T-Tech, so the company valuation right now, the market value of shares is 273 million. And their last quarter, I'm looking at the report, they made a profit for the quarter of $5 million. Right? So I mean, it's interesting to see what the strategy will be, because it must be some form of strategic, which is why I wanted to interview the CEO for Simply Secure, because I wanted to understand what did they see in T-Tech, and what's the strategy, to understand that they're, um yeah. So I think that's it though, guys. I think, let me just scroll through quickly to see if I have any questions. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here, especially those who have been here from the start. Please do take a moment to like the video. I think we answered all the questions here. So I'll say that, so I do follow, I think I saw the news about Visual Vibe, and the streaming of the Olympics. I'm interested to see. I think when we mentioned I create, I don't know if it's the last stocks to watch or before. I'm interested to see how the year goes for them. Um, Shelly, Shelly would say a Jamaican dollar 5 million is a joke. Like I'm, like, I don't know, right? Um, David, your perspective on Last D and Last M, do you think they will merge?
It's a
That,
possibility, but it's really to see how that will be executed.
yeah.
Because on
I
one
think
hand,
James mentioned it on the Mayberry forum that he did. I still haven't watched off that entire episode.
so what I'm saying is that it would be very interesting to see, because on one hand, what would be the surviving entity? How would the deal be consummated? Meaning that would Lasco capitalize some of their cash to pay shareholders and pay the remaining shareholders in new shares to be issued? And even then, if they were to merge, what synergies could be created that don't already exist now? I
Yeah,
say
they're
that
probably closely integrated already.
exactly because, for context, they have shared services set up already, meaning that costs are already shared for operations. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, unless there are benefits on the maybe the administrative side, because if they do have a shared services set up already, then having one entity to manage instead of two may be easier. I don't know, but no,
But
you'd pretty much be reporting on a bigger business, right? So I don't know. I don't know. Um I'd love to see what happens there. Yeah.
so, any other comments you want to carry through, Jermaine? Or that's it?
Well, just Lanestra was saying they think T-Tech only raised 50 million. They raised only 50 million when they listed. Okay. I mean, so to me, I just think because they're still junior market. Do you remember when T-Tech listed,
They
David?
listed back in, I believe it would have been probably 2014 or 2016, one of the
Oh,
two periods.
so they're up for their 10 years now. They're up.
Just give me a second. I can actually check. I'm a spreadsheet with me right now.
Yeah.
I always have my data on standby.
So
But
I think that, I mean, I would just add I wanted to do a T-Tech interview. I don't know if it still made sense with, I think, Norman Chen, the
So
acting CEO at the time.
so T-Tech listed on January 7th, 2016. So they have two
Okay,
more
so
years left in the tax
yeah,
break.
yeah. Yes, I mean, because right now their taxes would have been what? Probably
Fifty
should do
percent,
a
fifty
T-Tech
percent
review.
of the 25% rate.
Yeah. I should probably do a T-Tech stock review, so I'll do that. But um, let me see. Yes, I do like the last four companies separately though. I don't know if I did a review, but I'm hoping. So, guys, I can say this. No, I don't want to declare interviews until they're booked. So let's hope that we'll be able to interview some members of the from one of the Alaska companies at a later point. That's what I'll say. Um, any opinion on the NCB bonds? I don't know if we can answer that in the short time here, Partridge. Trust me. Sorry
Well,
you didn't ask this
NCB will
question
have their
today.
briefing next Friday, so look out for that.
I was trying to remember the date. Next Friday, as in tomorrow Friday or next week?
August 9.
Okay,
August
okay.
8 is when the results will be released.
What's the corporate tax rate? Isn't it 25%?
25% for regular companies. Regulated companies like your financial companies and JPS are taxed at 33.3%.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
even that includes Flow and other telecoms companies as well.
yeah. And trust me, Learn Grow Invest Limited is a company that has to do its filings. I know it's a pain for us each month. Trust me, guys, that be grateful if you have a 9 to 5 and you get your money in your hands without having to worry about the administration of how you get paid. That's all I'll say. Because it's not like when I think of all the things that you have to do as a company. The other day we went to the company's office to file our annual report. We were there a ridiculous amount of time and we did not get it done. So we still have to go back. Um, I was also in the bank the other day. Like I went to withdraw some money and I got I won't call the bank, but I was in there for over an hour and I just decided to leave. Like I'm not gonna get started now. We're at the 2 hour mark. David, thank you so much
No
for
problem.
joining me. Guys, if you have any questions for David, just tag him in the group. He's in our Telegram group. For those of you who are new, our Telegram group is where we talk like this every single day. So we talk about the market. We have different channels for different things. We have a real estate channel. We have a US stock market channel. I'm feeling pain right now because of my Microsoft shares, but we should probably have a US stocks to watch. David, tell me what you think. We can probably work that
Boy,
out. Um,
one thing I'll say is that I have a portfolio in the US that is just Caribbean focused,
mhm.
and I don't mind. I like it. Like
Yeah,
today, price mark went to $90 US, 92, which is 2 week high, and like less than a month ago, I was trading for like $78. So
nice. That's
can't
about 25%.
I can't complain. Like to be honest, the Caribbean focus I've had has been doing pretty well, and I built that focus off Jamaica. So Pacific Airport Group operator airports is listed on NYSE. You have New Purchase Energy. You have PriceSmart. You have a couple others. I just can't remember off the back of my head, like Carnival, Caribbean Cruises, Royal Caribbean. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Let's
that
go. Let's do a stocks to watch for the US. We should probably do that. Maybe we'll do that because I'd
sure.
love to dig into some of these companies some more, especially Price Smart because I've always liked like I look at their expansion just in Jamaica and I can just imagine globally what that looks like for them. So
The
I
region,
should probably look
Jermaine. The
into that.
region.
I should probably look into them as well. All right, David. Thanks a lot. We'll talk again soon for sure.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I felt like I haven't done a stocks to watch in a minute. Thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you for the over 200 persons who dropped in. I really do appreciate it. 300 persons have dropped in for the last 2 hours, so I appreciate that very much. Please do take a minute to like the video. If you're watching this on a replay or you're here live, please do like the video. Our Grow Your Wealth conference is coming up. It's for entrepreneurs, investors. The speaker lineup is going to be released soon. We'll have early bird tickets coming out very soon. And so our tickets sold out in a week or maybe 2 weeks last year. So we're going to be sending out to our email list when tickets are officially on sale and the speaker list, etc. So you really want to get your tickets early because we can't guarantee spaces will be there. And yes, Orville, this one was a longer episode because one, tomorrow is a holiday and it's summer, so I feel like we needed to give this one a little bit more time. So some persons may look at the replay and say 2 hours plus they're not gonna watch it. It's their loss, right? So but yeah, we have some interesting episodes coming out. I won't spoil it, but be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, right? We've scaled down our emails, and that's because we're noticing the percentage of persons opening our emails is not what it used to be. So we're kind of trying to rethink that strategy right now. So if you want to catch our content on YouTube, turn on notifications for YouTube and for the channel. That's the best way to ensure that you catch all our videos. All right. Jams, yes, it will be a hybrid conference. So online tickets will be there, in-person tickets will be there. Michael, I think you are watching US companies. I'm not sure, but I think you always mention GTN whenever we have stocks to watch. But so the pick for Audley was one-on-one, one great studio, Spur Tree. The pick for David was, oh my gosh, Main Event, Sagicor Select Funds, and David, remind me of your third one if you're still here. For me, it was Tropical. It was Regency, and I don't remember my third one right now. So it was Wisynco. Wisynco was David's third, right? So yeah. So thanks again, guys, for watching. Again, remember to like the video. I'll see you very soon. We have some more stuff coming your way. All right. Let me do a quick check for IG very quickly to see if there are any questions over IG. Okay, cool. Thanks to our IG viewers, by the way. I appreciate you. James, you're very welcome. All right, guys. See you again.